Good evening. It is Thursday, September 28th, 2017. This is the special meeting, closed session of the Board of Directors of the Kensington Police Protection and Community Services District. I'm Board President Rochelle Sherris-Watt, and I will take roll. Director Debbie?
Here.
Director Hasai?
Here.
Vice President Natoli?
Here.
And Director Welsh is not going to be with us this evening due to family matters. We will now take public comments. As there are none, we will adjourn to closed session and reconvene at 7:30. Thank you. Where is it going? Okay, here. Here we go. All right. Good evening. Welcome to the Thursday, September 28th, 2017 regular meeting of the Kensington Police Protection and Community Services District. I'm Board President Rochelle Sherris-Watt. I will now take roll. Director Debbie?
Here.
Director Hasai?
Here.
Vice President Natoli?
Here.
Unfortunately, for us, but not for him, as it's a nice reason, Director Welsh is unable to be here tonight for family matters. We have nothing to report out of closed session. No action was taken. We will now move on to public comments for items not appearing on the agenda.
Yes. Hi, my name's Simon Brough, and I have a couple of questions. I sent an email with regards to the water fountains down here next to the tennis court. One of them is working, one is still not working. I just wondered what the plan is to take care of that. And the second thing is the tennis court needs some maintenance. There are cracks, and I'm wondering if there's a plan to take care of that as well.
Thank you. The general manager has heard, and we will.
Great.
Thank you
very much.
Mabry Benson here. Just to comment on the discussion last meeting about this proposal to hire a consulting firm. I really liked the suggestion, and to some extent it's part of the, it's not an RFP for a consultant, but whatever you want to call it, that when evaluation criteria are established for the issue of evaluating possible contracting agencies, that these evaluations also be applied to evaluating our own department. I think that's a very good point, and it will be enlightening whatever ends up happening. So that suggestion was there, and I really think it's a very good idea to proceed with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Andrew Gutierrez here. May I comment on this? Absolutely. Okay. For the first time in 25 years that I have been attending these meetings, we finally have a summary of what our officers are doing. Fantastic. Now, there's a guy by the name of Theodore Foley. He seems to be a very active officer on the street. And yet there are others, Wilkins. There was one tick that indicates she's still alive. Today I was working in my front yard on the North Arlington Freeway, and as I was telling Chief Hall, I was able to conjure up every bad word that I knew, and I probably even invented some new ones, because the traffic and the speeding is just simply out of control. Now, we don't give tickets in Kensington for speeding because everybody appears to be following the speeding limit from the 300 countries that they come from. And it's a dangerous place. So the light, North Arlington Freeway, and near Westminster, those are incredibly dangerous places. And yet it's not reflected in these kinds of minutes, nor is it reflected in a lot of the signs that we see from some folks wanting to keep our police independent. Well, let me tell you, our police have been independent for far too long, and they haven't really been doing a hell of a lot. Pardon the French. So I am glad to see that the board is proceeding to try to get information about how to move forward, what we can afford, and how to correct some of these sorts of incidences. And I really want to thank Chief Hall for providing this information, because it really tells us who is active on the streets and who isn't. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd just like to make one clarification to one of the gentleman's statements concerning Officer Wilkins. She had been back on duty, but it took a couple of months for her to take the necessary trainings to get her retrained before we could put her back on the street. So the numbers that you're witnessing reflects a very small amount of time. It could have been maybe 3 or 4 days, or possibly even less of that month.
I take my comment back.
Thank you.
So would you like to be stricken from the record? Yeah.
All right. We move on to board comments. Please.
I attended the Tri-Safety event at El Cerrito Plaza last Saturday, and Chief Hull was there for about 5 or 6 hours, and lots of little kids came up. He let them sit in the front seat of the car, although they really wanted to sit in the back seat of the car. It was they wanted to be a criminal, but and I also overheard Chief Hull trying to talk someone into a police officer career, which is really nice. It was a really interesting event. It was Tri-City with Albany, El Cerrito, and us. They had police and fire trucks, and so that was nice. Also, with respect to traffic, I did observe the other day that one of the Sundays at the farmer's market that Officer Foley was there, and he was on foot, and he would stop cars that ran the stop sign at Calusa, give people a warning in a very nice way. And I think warnings, at least for many people, a warning is sufficient, and he let them know that he would be remembering them and would issue them a ticket if they ran the stop sign again. And I thought that was very good policing. One other comment I just want to make about this. One of the reasons why you see this is because of the new software that we have with the dispatch. This is part of the interesting software that will print out this report, whereas formerly, I understand, it took a lot of hand checking, going in and getting these numbers all by hand. This is a report that Chief Hull is able to produce with a few strokes of a keyboard, so it's a nice system. And the last thing I want to mention is I had a meeting with the Solid Waste Committee, and we are looking to replacing some of the public garbage cans around town. KIC had put out about 5 cans. They're about in 2008 or 2009. Some of them are starting to rust and they're looking a little tattered. So we're looking into companies that could replace them. There's also an interest, some of the people on the committee tell me about food composting, and they tell me that people don't want to compost themselves, they want other people to do that for them. And so we will be getting a quote from Bayview on how much more our rates will increase to accommodate people who don't want to compost themselves. Although I think that 2015 survey that was done made it pretty clear that people were not interested in having a increase in their rates to accommodate food composting, and quite a few people also do their own food composting. There's also a county event this month on October 28th on composting that will be held here. And none of the committee members wanted to attend, again, because they think that the Bayview should do their composting for them, and they have no interest in doing it. The last thing is we are trying to see if Bayview could have a quarterly pickup of hazardous waste at people's homes instead of needing to drive all the way out to Richmond with hazardous waste. The El Cerrito Recycle Center takes quite a bit of material that is considered hazardous waste. So there's actually not that much that really would need to go to Richmond, and there wouldn't be that much, I would think, for Bayview to pick up on a quarterly basis. And we are going to try to get more information out to people in the December invoice flyer with some of the other options for materials. For example, you can take paint to the Kelly Moore store on San Pablo. So that's all that I have to say. Thank you.
I want to thank Chief Hull as well for attending the Tri-City Safety event. It was quite a cornucopia of emergency vehicles, a small child's delight. So thank you very much for representing us. And I wish to apologize for the lack of inclusion of the statistics of the Kensington Police Department in this agenda. It was a confusion between involving emails and was not the fault of Chief Hull. This is available in some copies here, but we will include it in a future agenda. The board members just returned from the California Special Districts Association conference, which we found, I think, pretty universally informative. And we will have a synopsis of the events we attended available hopefully by the October 12th agenda. Any further comments? General Manager comment? General Manager Constantouros?
I just wanted to update the board and the members of the public on the RFP process. I was able to make personal contact with the three major firms that conduct these kinds of analyses, and they're all interested in submitting a proposal, and I did email them copies of the RFP, and I answered their questions. We had some difficulty finding who did the report for the city of San Carlos, but due to some sleuthing there from their staff, they were able to identify the person that did the analysis, and I was also able to contact him, and he also expressed an interest of submitting a proposal, so it's possible we may have as many as 4 proposals.
Wonderful, thank you. Further comments? All right. We'll move to item 6 on the agenda, which is the statement of budget performance, which begins on page 3. Are there any public comments on this item? One question. Yes.
Dave Spath. It's, I think, the last page that deals with the, excuse me, I guess it's the next to last page, code 972, park buildings improvement. Is the 300,000, I'm trying to recall, is that the total amount we have available now, plus, of course, the park, the East Bay Regional Park District amount of 158,000?
I believe there's additional funds that have been set aside in the reserve, if you will, that have been put together for capital. In addition to that, that's the current budget, and then there's additional funds.
I thought I recalled that you had more in the
Yes,
reserve.
and that does not incorporate the WW.
Right, it doesn't incorporate that.
No, because that's a reimbursement bond, but the Director Hasai is correct. There's $250,000 that sits in the
So it's over
capital.
500,000 plus the 158,000.
Yes.
And my other question is, what does it, I guess, mean by the fact that there are only 218,045 available here? You see the little note down there, nothing was spent in FY 16-17, so committed funds balance available here is 218,000.
Oh,
If you look at item, or code 972, it's the next to last page, Arlene.
yes.
Yes, that is,
I was just curious what that meant.
there was anticipation of spending more money in the previous budget year, and we did not. So that's why they're just clarifying what was spent in the previous budget year.
There was nothing spent.
It was there was nothing spent. We had estimated it would be different, and then we ended up not spending it yet.
So committed funds balance available here is 218,000. I'm still not going into FY 17-18. I'm not quite sure I understand what that means relative to the 300,000.
That's an addition to, I think. That's the
So that's the
committed
addition
funds.
that you're talking about, which
Yes,
is
that's the committed funds.
reserved.
Correct. It was basically carried over.
Right. Okay, so that's what that means.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Board member questions or comments? All right, I move that we adopt the statement of, the consent calendar, essentially, for, any seconds?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the motion passes. We adopt the consent calendar 4-0. All right, moving on to new business. We will discuss the appointment of Director Deppy to be the KPPCSD liaison to LAFCO. LAFCO, the local agency formation committee, is local agency formation commission, needs a representative from each of the special districts, and so we must vote to approve one. Previously, Director Cordova was our representative, and since she has left the board, Director Deppy has offered to fulfill that role. Any public comment? Any board comment?
I guess I would just like to read a little bit of Len Welsh's note to us about his inability to attend today, and just, he asked that please note that I support the appointment of Chris Deppy to be KPPCSD's liaison to LAFCO. So.
LAFCO typically meets monthly, discussing issues that have pertinence to special districts. So it is very helpful that we have a representative that can attend those meetings, as they sometimes occur during the day and the afternoons. Would you like to say anything, Director Deppy?
Just that I did work with LAFCO a lot, as Dave know, on the ad hoc subcommittee. When we were looking at consolidation, there was a lot of information that we needed to get, a lot of clarification. So I developed a pretty lengthy working relationship with Luann, so I know how they work, and I know the organization. So I'm looking forward to it. I feel pretty confident that I do a good job with it.
Thank you. And Luann Textera is the general manager
Yes.
for
And she was my contact, and that's where I got most of the information from.
the LAFCO board.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. All right, well, I'll make a motion that we appoint Director Deppy to be the KPPCSD's liaison to LAFCO.
I will second the motion.
I should, is it proper for me to vote on my own nomination? I wanted to clarify that. Great, thank you, okay.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Noes? None? So the motion passes 4-0. Congratulations, and thank you very much for taking on this task. All right. Item number 8, the board will discuss moving the date of the regular November meeting, now scheduled for November 9th to November 16th. As everyone is aware, Thanksgiving is the second, it takes the date of our second meeting, so we will not be meeting for our second regular meeting of November, but we found due to director obligations that we would perhaps have less than a quorum, so we are hoping to move to the third Thursday in November. Any public comment about that? No, it is the Thursday. Okay, I promise that is the 13th is a Monday that week. So, any board comment?
I will just note again that Len said he has no objection to moving the November 9th meeting to November 16th.
Wonderful, because as we're seeking a quorum, or well, actually a complete board, not just a quorum, we'd be delighted to have everyone be able to attend. All right, well, I'll make a motion that we move the date of the regular November meeting from November 9th, 2017 to Thursday, November 16th, 2017.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the motion passes 4-0. Well, this is perhaps the quickest KPPCSD meeting you have ever attended. So thank you all so much for coming, and you have time for dinner, and even in, yes.
These are boring meetings.
I'm sorry. We'll leave it to the national stage to keep your heart rate up. We're trying to.
Oh, well, I think you're going to have to come up with a more exciting agenda.
Okay, we promise we'll
It'll come, okay.
yes, we will take that under advisement. I will make the motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All right, Director Deppie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the motion passes 4-0. Good evening. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on October 12th.